The excuse paradox. Why we hold ourselves back. Why do humans sabotage their own dreams? With excuses. We say we want to change jobs, move abroad, start fresh. But then, we create stories that hold us back. These aren't just simple lies. They are powerful narratives we tell ourselves. Disguised as logic, but driven by fear. Excuses feel safe. They protect us from failure, from rejection, from the unknown. But at the same time, they keep us trapped. If you like where this is going, please subscribe. Because today we're diving deep into the hidden psychology of self-made excuses. And how they quietly control our lives. Even when we think we're in charge. The hidden nature of excuses. Excuses are not random. They follow patterns, and they almost always sound logical on the surface. When someone says, "I'll wait for the right moment," or "I need more experience first," or "I'm just not ready yet," it sounds responsible, even wise. But underneath, these statements are shields. They protect the mind from risk, discomfort, and uncertainty. The human brain is wired to prefer stability over change. Evolution shaped us this way. Thousands of years ago, venturing into unknown territory or making radical changes could mean danger, even death. So the mind developed strategies to keep us safe, and one of the most powerful of these strategies is the excuse. Think about it, we rarely admit to ourselves, "I'm scared of failing," or "I might be judged." Instead, the brain invents a softer story, something that feels rational, something that makes us appear sensible, even to ourselves. "I'll wait for a better opportunity," or "I don't have enough resources yet," are really fear disguised as logic. Excuses create invisible walls around us. They don't lock us in physically, but they trap us mentally. Each excuse, each story we tell ourselves, builds another barrier that keeps us from pursuing our dreams. Over time, these stories become part of our identity. "I'm not the adventurous type," or "I'm too old for this," or "People like me don't do things like that." All of these are walls constructed from repeated excuses. Yet, it's important to remember, excuses are not weakness. They are protection strategies, designed by our own minds to avoid discomfort and risk. But there is a cost. Every time we choose the excuse over the action, we trade short-term comfort for long-term regret. The fascinating part is that this mechanism works unconsciously. Most of the time, we don't even realize we are making excuses. We think we are being rational, responsible, or simply cautious. But behind the scenes, fear and inertia are quietly steering our decisions. Understanding the hidden nature of excuses is the first step toward breaking free. Once we recognize the patterns, once we see the protective strategies for what they truly are, we can begin to challenge them. We can start to ask ourselves, "Is this a real limitation, or just a story I am telling myself?" And that is where change begins. By shining a light on the hidden mechanics of our mind, by becoming aware of the excuses we create, we open the door to choices that are guided not by fear, but by intention. Excuses lose their power once we name them, examine them, and consciously decide whether to follow them, or not. Common excuses we tell ourselves. Every day, humans invent countless reasons to avoid action. These excuses are so familiar, we barely notice them. "I don't have enough time." "I'm too tired." "It's not the right moment." "I'm not qualified." "Someone else will do it better." Each phrase feels valid, almost harmless, but collectively, they shape our lives. Take career changes, for example. Millions dream of leaving their jobs, pursuing passion projects, or even starting their own business. Yet most never take the first step. Why? Because the mind crafts stories that justify an action. "I need more savings." "I'll wait until I have experience." "It's too risky." These stories sound logical, but they are simply fear in disguise. The same pattern shows up in bigger life decisions, like moving abroad or ending toxic relationships. "I can't leave now. My family wouldn't understand." "I don't know anyone there. I'd be alone." "Maybe it's not the right time." Notice how these excuses shift responsibility outward. The mind tells us it's someone else's fault, or that circumstances are to blame. We appear rational, but in reality, we are protecting ourselves from uncertainty and discomfort. Even small, everyday choices are affected. We skip workouts, delay creative projects, postpone learning a new skill. "I'll start tomorrow" becomes a mantra, repeated endlessly until the day never comes. Excuses like these are subtle but powerful. They train the brain to seek comfort and avoid challenge. Interestingly, these excuses often contain a mix of truth and distortion. "I don't have enough money" may be partly true, but often it's an exaggerated fear of failure. "I need more time" sounds practical, yet it masks procrastination. Our minds are remarkably creative at constructing these narratives. They can make avoidance feel noble, wise, even moral. And the consequences are cumulative. One excuse alone may seem harmless, but over months and years, they accumulate into patterns of self-sabotage. Dreams postponed. Opportunities missed. Personal growth delayed. The stories we tell ourselves shape the reality we live in, often without our conscious awareness. The good news? Recognizing common excuses is the first step to breaking their hold. By identifying the familiar patterns, we can begin to question them. Is this really a limitation, or am I just afraid? By shining light on the excuses, by naming them for what they are, we reclaim the ability to act. The challenge is not to eliminate all fear or uncertainty, they are natural, but to prevent them from controlling our decisions. Once we understand the common excuses we tell ourselves, we gain the power to choose differently, to move forward even when the mind is screaming, "Wait!" The psychology behind self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is more than just making excuses, it's a deeply ingrained psychological pattern. Humans are wired to seek comfort, predictability, and safety. Our brain constantly weighs risk versus reward, and often, the fear of failure or social judgment outweighs the potential benefits of change. This is why we create stories to justify an action. One key mechanism is the status quo bias. The brain prefers what is known, even if it's unsatisfying or limiting. Change requires effort, uncertainty, and risk. So the mind invents rational reasons to stay put. "I'll wait until I'm ready." Or, "It's not the right moment." Sound smart, but they are defenses against the discomfort of the unknown. Another factor is loss aversion. Humans feel losses more intensely than gains. Leaving a secure job for a dream career, or moving to a new country, triggers anxiety because the brain perceives the potential loss as more significant than the potential gain. Even when rationally we know the opportunity is worth it, our emotions hijack decision-making. Fear of social judgment also plays a crucial role. We live in communities, and humans are hardwired to seek approval and avoid rejection. Choosing a path that deviates from expectations, whether career, relationships, or lifestyle, can feel like risking disapproval. So the mind crafts stories. "They wouldn't understand, it's too radical, I need to wait until it's acceptable." These narratives are excuses in disguise. Interestingly, self-sabotage can even involve overachievement or perfectionism. Some people delay action because nothing seems good enough yet. The brain convinces us to wait for ideal conditions that rarely exist, effectively freezing progress. In this way, procrastination is not laziness, it's a psychological strategy to protect ourselves from failure or imperfection. Awareness is the first step to breaking this pattern. Recognizing that these tendencies are normal, rooted in evolution and psychology, removes some of their power. When we understand why the brain resists change, we can start designing strategies to work with it, rather than against it. The challenge lies in consciously choosing action despite discomfort. Small steps, deliberate decisions, and reframing fear as a signal rather than a barrier can break the cycle. By exposing self-sabotage for what it is, a natural, yet limiting psychological response, we reclaim agency. We begin to act intentionally, instead of being silently steered by fear, habit, or invisible excuses. Understanding the psychology behind self-sabotage is like holding a map to your own mind. The more we study the mechanisms, the more equipped we are to navigate them, to recognize when excuses arise, and to take decisive action anyway. Fear and uncertainty remain, but they no longer control us. The social and cultural side. Excuses are not created in isolation. They are deeply influenced by society, culture, and the people around us. Human beings are social creatures. From an early age, we learn to navigate expectations, norms, and judgments. This social conditioning shapes the stories we tell ourselves, often without us realizing it. Consider family expectations. Parents, siblings, or mentors may have a vision of who we should be or what paths are acceptable. Even when we dream of something different, moving abroad, changing careers, pursuing unconventional passions, the brain generates excuses to avoid conflict or disappointment. I can't do that, my family wouldn't approve. Or, people like us don't take such risks. These narratives feel protective, but they limit personal freedom. Culture also plays a role. In some societies, stability and conformity are highly valued. Choosing a path that deviates from the norm can provoke internalized guilt or shame. The mind, ever the strategist, invents stories to avoid social friction. I'm just waiting until it's acceptable. Or, it's not the right moment culturally. Even when rationally we know the choice makes sense, subconscious pressure from culture strengthens the excuses. Peer influence is another powerful factor. Humans constantly compare themselves to others. Social media, colleagues, and friends set implicit benchmarks for success and behavior. When we feel we don't measure up, excuses arise. I can't start now, others are ahead. Or, I'll wait until I'm prepared like they are. These thoughts are often unconscious, but they steer behavior in subtle yet powerful ways. Interestingly, social validation can both create and dissolve excuses. Some people delay action until they feel the approval of others, while others use the fear of judgment as a reason to stay passive. This dynamic explains why breaking out of comfort zones often requires deliberate effort to question societal narratives and focus on internal values rather than external expectations. Recognizing the social and cultural forces behind our excuses is liberating. Awareness allows us to disentangle our own desires from the expectations of others. We can begin to differentiate between real constraints and stories we have inherited or learned. The more conscious we become, the more capable we are of making choices based on intention, rather than invisible social pressures. In short, society and culture create a fertile ground for excuses to grow. Understanding this context is key to reclaiming agency. Once we see the influence clearly, we can start reshaping our stories, breaking free from inherited limitations, and acting in alignment with our true goals and values. Outro. How to break free from excuses. Breaking free from excuses is not about eliminating fear or discomfort. These are natural, unavoidable parts of being human. It's about recognizing the stories we tell ourselves, understanding their purpose, and consciously choosing to act anyway. Awareness is the first step, but action is what transforms lives. Start small. Identify one recurring excuse that keeps you stuck. Write it down. Ask yourself, is this a real limitation, or just a story my mind created to avoid risk? Challenge it. Take one deliberate step toward what you truly want. It might be uncomfortable at first, but each step rewires the brain, strengthens confidence, and expands your comfort zone. Remember, the brain is not your enemy, it's a guide. Excuses are signals, not absolute truths. They show where fear lives, where growth is possible, and where you can reclaim control. By consciously observing these narratives, you turn what once held you back into a roadmap for action. And here's a practical tip: surround yourself with reminders of your goals. Track progress, celebrate small victories, and share your journey with supportive people. Each conscious decision chips away at the walls built by excuses. Over time, taking action becomes easier than rationalizing inaction. Before we wrap up, if you found value in this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment with which excuse you've struggled with the most. Sharing your experience not only helps you reflect, but also inspires others to take action. Change is possible, even when it feels daunting. Excuses may arise, they always will, but awareness and intention give you the power to respond differently. Every story you tell yourself can be rewritten. Every fear can be met with curiosity instead of avoidance. Thanks and see you soon. Don't forget to upgrade your reality.